بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي بنعمته تتم الصالحات والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Today we will continue with the book Al-Qaidah An-Noraniah. We finished lesson 1, حروف الهجاء المفردة. Then we talked about lesson 2, حروف الهجاء المركبة. And we said that lesson 1 was about the Arabic alphabets, singular Arabic alphabets. And lesson 2 was about the combined letters. Today, inshallah ta'ala, we will start with الدرس الثالث, الحروف المقطعة, which is letters that are pronounced separately. طيب. Before we begin lesson الثالث, الدرس الثالث, we were going to talk about why the mu'allaf chose al-huruf al-muqatta'a as being a dars al-thalith. So he said here that after the student finishes, so بعد الانتهاء من درس الثاني والثالث, after the student finishes lesson 2 and lesson 3, الحروف المركبة والمقطعة, he said يجب أن تكون لدى الطالب القدرة في معرفة وتمييز أي حرف من حروف القرآن من غير تردد. فمثلا قوله تعالى عما يتساءلون يقرأه الطالب بسورة التالية بلا تردد. He said after lesson 2 and 3, so lesson 1 was just knowing the letters. After lesson 2 and 3, the student should have the knowledge to differentiate between any letter and to know which letter is which letter before we go on to the fourth lesson. So as you can see, lesson 2 and lesson 3 are one of the most important lessons of the whole book, because some of the letters are similar to each other. So we have to apply the rules of the pronunciation and the long sounds, and we have to focus on which letter is which letter, so that the student does not make a mistake before going on to ad-dars al-rabi', the fourth lesson. We also have to pay attention to the rules of the pronunciations between the letters, such as like hiding which letters are we merging, varying sounds, for example, kaf, ha, ya, and sad. The kaf here is prolonged to 6 seconds, while the ha and the ya are only prolonged for 2 seconds. And then the ain is prolonged for 6 seconds, with the hiding rule in between, and the sad is prolonged for 6 seconds. Now, so all this is in the audio too. So the author who wrote the book has an audio that we posted also on the group, where every student can listen to the audio before coming to class, so that when he comes to class, he's ready to read. So here the Sheikh said, الدرس الثالث الحروف المقطعة. Then he began off with saying, ألف لام ميم, ألف لام ميم صاد, ألف لام ميم را, نعم, and so forth. So these are good examples to practice. طيب. We'll come back to the practical part of it after we finish ad-dars today, inshallah. Ad-dars al-rabi', the fourth lesson, al-huruf al-mutaharrika. So this is the fatha, the kasra, and the dhamma, which are the vowels. So the fatha is called fatha because we open a bit of our mouth. So we smile when we say it. You don't open your mouth too wide, but you smile. The kasra is called kasra because we lower our mouths when we say it to the left or to the right. And we talked about this in the first day. The dhamma It's called dhamma because we round our mouth when we say it. And the sukoon is called sukoon because our mouth stays still when we say it. مثلا, here the Sheikh begins with Hamza Fatha. So here you're supposed to say Hamza Fatha, A, Hamza Kasra, E, A, E. Then you have to repeat. Then you have to say Hamza Dhamma, U, A, E, U. Then you continue saying the same. Ha Fatha Ha, Ha Kasra Hi, Ha Hi, Ha Dhamma Hu, Ha Hi Hu. So the author, may Allah have mercy on him, organized these letters in this chapter, in lesson number 4, based on where they come from in the mouth and the throat. And a lot of students of knowledge do not know this. But when he wrote the book, the reason why he began with Hamza and the reason why he ended with Mim before lesson 5 is that he started with Hamza because the Hamza comes out from the back of the throat. And he ended with Mim because Mim comes out from the lips. So here the student should practice reading the lesson from the top to the bottom and from left to the right so that they can read the sounds quickly with the letters without hesitating. It's important to pay attention to the length of the sounds too, which is very short here and should not be more than 1 second. So when we say Hamza Fatha A, it's 1 second, not A, just A. Hamza Kasra E, A, E, 1 second each. طيب. So it's important to pay attention to the length of the sound, which is very short and should not be more than 1 second. Also be careful about where you place your tongue and also the movement of your jaw and the lips when saying these sounds. So the student of knowledge here, Talib al-Ilm, should focus on both the strong and the light letters we talked about in lesson 1. Na'am. So learning how to say these sounds correctly, it's really important for beginners because as a beginner, you will get used to the proper Arabic pronunciation. For example, the word sadaqa, the sad is heavy, the dal is light, and the qaf is heavy. So sa-da-qa. Sa. Even if you have to spell this, you have to say sad, dal, qaf. If I tell you to spell sadaqa and to read it separately, you have to say sad, dal, qaf. So you can tell which one's heavy and which one's light. طيب. Lesson 5, الدرس الخامس, and this is the last ders for the day today, and then we'll practice inshallah each lesson, is tanween. Tanween is the extra noon, N sound that's added to the end of the noun when we say it. And when we will talk about the grammar in the Arabic program, Ajrumiyya, we'll know that a tanween only goes to the noun. فالاسم يعرف بالخفض كسرة وتنوين ودخول ألف ولام. The signs of noun is that it ends with a kasra and it ends with a tanween. It can be an, in, un. So anytime you see a letter that ends with an, in, un is a noun. So here he's saying that tanween is an extra n sound added to the end of the noun when we say it, but it does not appear in writing or when we stop. It's marked with 2 open vowels. We talked about the vowels. We said fatha, kasra, dhamma. So it's marked with 2 open vowels, fathatan, 2 lowered vowels, kasratan, and 2 rounded vowels, dhammatan. When we stop, the 2 open vowels change to, and instead of fatha, we will say now alif. Like kabiran, kabiran. Before it was kabira. We put fathatain now, kabiran. However, the ta, there's a ta marbuta sometimes, and when we stop at ta marbuta, we say ha instead of the tanween. Like rahmatan, when we stop, we say rahmah with the ha instead of the tanween. For the two lowered vowels and the two rounded vowels, we stop with the silent sound, sukoon. And then we remove the tanween except for some verses. And all those examples are coming up. So for example, two open vowels, we will say man. Two lowered vowels, min. And then two rounded vowels, mun. So man, min, mun. So mim fathatain man, mim kasratain min, man, min. You always have to repeat after. And then the last one is mim dammatain mun and man, min, mun. Man, min, mun. طيب. So today's lesson, it's going to be huruf al-muqatta'a, which was the letters pronounced separately. Then we'll talk about the short vowels. We have long vowels and short. So the short vowels was fatha, الدرس الرابع, lesson 4, fatha, kasra, dhamma. الحركات الثلاثة. Fatha, kasra, dhamma. And then lesson 5 is doubled vowels. So basically tanween. الدرس الخامس التنوين حروف المنونة. So doubled vowels. So tanween meaning fathatain, kasratain, dhammatain. So we'll stop here. And then lesson 6, before we stop on lesson 5, lesson 6, we should even add lesson 6 because lesson 6 now says الدرس السادس تدريبات على الحركات والتنوين. So now after teaching you the vowels, the short vowels, and then he taught us, the author taught us the doubled vowels. Now in lesson 6, he's going to teach us basically exercises. He wants you to practice exercises on short vowels and doubled vowels. تدريبات, exercises. على الحركات, on short vowels, which is fatha, kasra, dhamma, and والتنوين, doubled vowels. So when here you have abadan, the first letter he gave is abadan. But the student of knowledge, you're supposed to be spelling this out before you can read. If I tell you don't spell it and just to read, you will read abadan, ahadun, akhada, adina, amara, ana. If I tell you to spell this out, you're going to say hamza fatha a, ba fatha ba, aba, dal fathatain, dan, abadan. So now you're dissecting each word into syllables, into parts, into sections. If I tell you to spell out ahadun, you're going to say same thing. Hamza fatha a, ha fatha ha, aha. And you cannot say aha, like don't open your mouth. The rule still exists. The heavy letters, you will read them heavy. And the soft letters, you will still read them soft. So the rule doesn't change. The same rule that we talked about, and the same 7 letters we talked about in the first lesson, you will implement those into your reading. And we will see this when we practice. So today's lesson is huruf al-muqatta'a, the letters that are pronounced separately. And الدرس الثالث. And then الدرس الرابع, the Sheikh talked about الحركات الثلاثة, the short vowels. And this will stick with you for the rest of your life. In English, we have 5 vowels, A, E, I, O, U. In Arabic, we have 3. Short vowels meaning fatha, kasra, dhamma. الدرس الخامس, which is the double vowels. Here, the student is supposed to just double what he learned basically in Dars al-Rabi', is the doubled vowels, so which is fathatain, kasratain, dhammatain, and then ad-dars al-sadis, which is a practice for الدرس الرابع and خامس, which is a practice of the al-harakat wa tanween, the short vowels and the doubled vowels. So we'll stop here inshallah ta'ala. The next class we will start with next week الدرس السابع, which is الألف الصغيرة والياء الصغيرة والواو الصغيرة. وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.